Hello everybody, and welcome to our online program from the Sunshine Coast Health Center. And we've been talking about youth and addiction. And this week, be a useful thing to help some people out is, well, how would you talk to somebody, a young person who's got a drug problem? And so if you remember back, these vulnerabilities that we've discovered in a lot of young people, their struggle to really have a sense of who they were as people, their struggle to, figure out what they want out of life or what they want their lives to be like, and the struggle to really make good relationships, good solid relationships. Right? And so when you talk to young people, it's often useful if you can sort of keep those three things in mind. So you might ask the person, well, what do you want to do with your life? Or what gets you excited? Those questions are much more powerful than, say, explain to them that, well, if you smoke this drug, then your coordination is thrown off and therefore, you're more able to get into an accident. Because the first one is actually going to speak to the vulnerability of the addiction, and the other one, of course, is drugs are bad, don't do drugs, which, as we mentioned last time, research has shown that approach just doesn't seem to work. So talking to young people is not a matter of telling them what to do or what to say. A lot of it is just listening to them, right? Because they have their story to tell. And this, by the way, is actually one of the big knocks on the research on youth and addiction, because a lot of the researchers actually have the idea that, well, youth are not adults. And because they're not adults, there's sort of this assumption about, well, why would we even listen to them? Because everything they're going to tell us is going to be pretty naive. They have no real life experience. They probably got the facts all wrong. And so there's almost a dismissal of what a young person talks about, especially about drugs. So it might be a better approach, a more useful approach to ask them about these questions, right? Like, why would you do drugs? Like, what's the attraction for them? Those kind of questions may open up a lot more conversation than, drugs are bad, don't do drugs. And this is a good lesson too, because it's important that we be open with the conversations. Because let's face it, those statistics that I gave a few weeks back, with, for example, 91% of the young people in Canada admitting that they got drunk, and around 40% admitting that they got high on pot. I mean, we know that it's very prevalent. Right? So might as well, just talk about it. Be open to discussion. So it's not something to shy away from. Anyway, this approach, if you can keep these things in the back of your mind, right? And then if you really get to trust you and get going, you can ask them things like, do you feel different than other people? Right? Or, do you find yourself feeling lonely? These kinds of questions speak to relationship issues, right? Or who do you look up to? Like, who's a role model? All these kinds of questions will help them with these three issues, these gaining some self-awareness, figuring out what they want to do with their life, and helping them form closer connections with people. Anyway, that's it for our topic on youth and addiction, and we'll be back next week with a new topic.